Hi everyone, we're going to start developing our first web page in this tutorial. But first of all, before we actually do that, just want to have a little look at some HTML code that will help you actually start to structure the way that your web page is laid out. And you need to kind of understand that all web pages have this code within them. So first of all, at the top of every web page that you'll look at, if you start looking at the code, you'll find the HTML tag. The reason for that is because you are telling your web browser this is a web page and to expect HTML code afterwards. Then you have the head tag, and within the head tag will be anything that you want to run before the web page loads. So for example, that could be something like JavaScript or CSS or whatever you might want to run before the actual main body of your content loads up. And obviously you have the closing header tag after that. The body tag will be anything which will be displayed by the browser. So anything within those body tags you will have displaying on the monitor or in the browser. Of course, it could be a mobile phone or any sorts of different things these days. And you just have to bear in mind that it has to be within these two tags for it to appear on your page. And then you have the closing HTML tag at the bottom. And obviously we're going to be using Sublime Text, and Sublime Text is a free editor, and you get Sublime Text by visiting sublimetext.com. Now it won't be quite as user-friendly as a Dreamweaver would be, for example. However, it is free at the end of the day, and it is used by a lot of web developers out there. And it is useful for you to actually kind of use and understand it, because ultimately you don't need to be spending £100 a year on something like Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is useful, don't get me wrong. However, if there is a free version available, then we'll have a go at it and see how far we get. And I want these tutorials to be accessible to as many types of different people as possible. So therefore, I'm going to use Sublime Text. You may also use something like Notepad or Notepad++. Now, while these programs may look different on the screen, the actual things the code will do will be exactly the same. So there shouldn't be a huge amount of difference, or shouldn't be any difference in that at all. Now, let's start off going into the code. You can see that right now there is absolutely nothing on our screen, and therefore this page is going to do absolutely nothing. So let's start putting some code in. And the first thing that we're going to put, if you remember from the short PowerPoint I showed you, will be an opening HTML tag, and it's generally good practice to put the closing one in at the bottom. Now it is on line 4 at the minute, but eventually it will wind up down the bottom of your page. And this, like I said, tells the web browser this is going to be a HTML page. Then we can put in the head tags. Now, the thing with HTML is it's far less funny about the way your code is laid out than something like a C# would be. C# is a programming language if you haven't used it before. So things like white space won't actually impact the way the page looks inherently. You will lay it out how you prefer it to make it easier for yourself and potentially others after you to use. Oh, whoops, would help if I could spell. So here we have, if you remember, mentioned head tags and the body tags. I'm just going to put a little bit of space in between here. I'm just going to put a couple of example bits of code between these tags to show you types of things that we could do. So quite a basic thing and good practice for you to do will be to have a title within the head tag. So the title is what is displayed by, for example, if you have your web page displayed in tabbed format, so it will help the user know what is within your web page. Because if you can imagine you have a web browser open and you have 5 different tabs going across the page, going across the browser, and you don't know what each web page does, you're going to have to be either very good at remembering what's in each one, or it will be trial and error every time, and that is going to annoy the user. So let's just have a title of my first web page. I'm going to close it off, and then within the body tags I'm just going to put a basic H1 header 1. So if you recall from the previous video, header 1 is our largest pre-formatted text styling, and I'm just going to put some sample content in there. Okay, so actually what you'll find is this doesn't look very much like what eventually Sublime Text will make your page look like, because Sublime Text will help you out with things like tags, and to do that we need to actually start saving this page, and I'm going to save it as HTML. I'm going to call it index.html. It's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it because I already have one saved here, and I'm going to say yes, and now you can see that the actual tags are starting to change color, which will help us actually use this in the future. Now you'll notice that I've got my website set up in a folder. I would recommend you do the same rather than putting it in with a load of other random content. It will help you find it later on. It will help you manage your content later on, and if I double click on that, you can see that we have a web page. Obviously not a very exciting web page, but we have our first web page, and we'll start to look at how we actually go about populating this and putting some more interesting things in there in our next video. Thank you.